Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review of Latent Image, which is episode 11 of season 5 of Star Trek Voyager. This video is a part of a series of videos where I review episodes of Star Trek as requested by my viewers. This episode was requested by Grace Cox. So Latent Image is the episode that begins with the Doctor doing his annual checkups by adding a new feature of taking a photo with a holo imager, which takes a photo of a patient from a subatomic level. But with this, he discovers evidence that he performed a surgery on Harry Kim over a year ago, but neither he nor Kim remembers it. He brings it to the captain's attention, but she seems unconcerned. He then asks 7 of 9 to help him investigate, but when she arrives to help him, he has no memory of any of it. They soon discover that his program has been tampered with and his memory erased. With 7's help, they uncover a series of photos of an unknown ensign whom the Doctor doesn't remember and a strange alien attack that he doesn't remember. The two of them then bring this to the crew's attention, and Janeway promises to launch an investigation, but first orders the Doctor to deactivate himself as a precautionary measure. But before he does, he sets up a booby trap to restore his memory if it gets erased again and photograph whoever tampered with his program. He wakes up and finds that his program was once again tampered with, but when he goes to look at the photo of who did it, he sees that it was in fact Captain Janeway herself. The Doctor then goes to her outraged, but Janeway doesn't deny it and states that 18 months ago the Doctor's program was malfunctioning and the only way to keep him functioning was to erase his memories of the incident. She then orders that his memories be deleted again of this over his protests. 709 then goes to Janeway and convinces her to give him a chance. So Janeway reveals to him what happened 18 months ago and that he went on a mission with Harry Kim and an ensign named Jatal when they were attacked by an alien intruder where both Kim and Jatal were critically injured. They take them back to sickbay where both have an equal chance of survival, but the Doctor can't operate on both of them at the same time, so he chooses Kim to operate on, which saves his life, but Jatal dies. Later, the Doctor starts to go crazy and gets caught in a feedback loop where he can't comprehend why he chose Kim over Jatal just because he knew Kim better, and went, for all intents purposes, insane. And once the Doctor learns about this, he once again goes insane and has the same issues he had 18 months ago. Torres suggests to erase his memories again, but Janeway decides not to, stating they need to solve this problem rather than avoid it. So the crew then takes turns staying with the Doctor, trying to help him through it, and the episode ends on a level of hope as it appears the Doctor is learning to cope with it. So this was a powerful episode that was one of the first that explored the Doctor's rights as a sentient being. However, the issue wasn't so black and white and was in fact more complicated, as you can really understand Janeway's point of view and why she did what she did, but you can also see how she was disrespecting the Doctor's rights as an individual by doing it. And the way this episode disseminated this information was a wonderful storytelling, as you're seeing things from the Doctor's point of view where you think it's a spy or an invading force that's been tampering with his program, so it was quite shocking when you learn it was Janeway herself. It was also intriguing the way they gave clues to what happened with an unknown ensign and an unknown alien attack. In fact, this episode reminded me a lot of the Next Generation episodes Clues, in which the crew attempted to erase their own memories for the greater good, but clues kept popping up that led to even more clues that let them know that something was wrong. Except in this case, it was just the Doctor and not the entire crew. However, 7 was just as in the dark as he, because she wasn't on the ship when this occurred. But it was the same scenario where one clue led to another, and what's interesting here is that unlike Clues, this was 18 months after the event, so it's intriguing to note that even after a long time, hidden secrets can become uncovered. And the philosophical journey this episode takes is amazing as well, as we get a couple scenes where 709 goes right up to Janeway and challenges her in the way that no other crew member could, because Seven has a unique perspective, being part machine as well. So when Janeway argues that the Doctor is simply a tool that's malfunctioning and needs to be repaired like any other piece of technology, Seven challenges her, gets her to challenge that assumption, and she begins to understand that he is a complex individual because she helped him to grow into one, and that she shouldn't simply abandon him now. In fact, she makes a comparison to when Seven was first separated from the collective and had to be looked after and cared for, and it was a long, hard process, so she came to the conclusion that that was what was called for here. So not only was this a great Doctor episode, but it also had significant character growth for Janeway and 7 of 9, as 7 got Janeway to look at things from a different perspective when it's usually the other way around. Plus, this deals with the consequences of the Doctor becoming more human and growing pains that would be involved in that, which seems only natural, as he was never meant to operate as long as he did. So it was interesting seeing him grapple with the fact that he's flawed as any human, as he chose his friend over, another person just because he didn't know her as well. And he was arguably riddled with guilt over this new sensation that was more complex than simply losing a patient. But the ending was powerful, as he realized the lengths Janeway would go to help him, which made him realize that he was worthwhile and in essence helped him to deal with the guilt. So now on to this episode's flaws, and the main one being continuity. I'm a stickler for continuity, like it or not, and that's a test Voyager fails time and time again. I saw a recent interview with Brennan Braga, who at this stage in the series was the head writer, and he stated that Star Trek works better as an episodic rather than serialized series, and I personally feel that can't possibly be more wrong, and he's a pretty creative guy, but that statement only illustrates to me that having him helm Voyager was a huge mistake. However, regarding this episode in particular, these events with Ensign Jatal supposedly occurred before 7 of 9 came on board, which would place it in the third season, and I viewed a website that specifically places it between the episodes of Worst Case Scenario and Scorpion. During this time, Kes should have been on board, and if they had like a big party with all the crew there, she most certainly would have been there. More to the point, she, and not Tom Paris, was the Doctor's assistant at this time, not Tom Paris as depicted in the scene where Jatal died. Also, Captain Janeway's hair was noticeably different in the third season, and yet in the flashback it appears the way it appears, in the fourth season, after the episode Year of Hell. Now, that may seem like a minor complaint, but that's actually a pretty big deal. And while, some may, seem like minor complaints to some, a bigger issue is with Ensign Jatal and how we had never seen her before. Of course, the real reason for this is because she was a one-off character written just for this episode. I think of how much more powerful it would have been had they actually used someone we were familiar with but haven't seen in a while, like Ensign Vork or Lieutenant Carey. So we'd be like, oh, that's why we haven't seen them in a while. In fact, that would be a very clever way to reveal that this character is already dead. But I guess that wouldn't work in the case of the Doctor seeing a strange ensign he didn't recognize, because if it was someone the audience knew, we'd immediately be able to recognize that the Doctor there was something wrong with his memory. But I don't think that would have hurt the story too much, personally. But more to the point, it makes no sense for the crew to be having a birthday party for some unknown ensign we've never seen before. I mean, really, do they have birthday parties for every crew member on the ship? If so, they must be having 1 or 2 birthday parties a week. Is Voyager really a party ship that we're not aware of? Plus, the way everyone was so familiar with her, I didn't buy. I mean, this could have been made up for if they referenced her in future episodes, but nope. In fact, when I first saw the episode Ashes to Ashes, where a crew member had died, returns to Voyager after being resurrected by a strange alien species. At first, I thought that it was the same incident from this episode, which would have been awesome, but nope, it was just another made-up, one-off character that never existed before that episode. This kind of inconsistency and purposely just making shit up really bothers me, and I think of how much better this show would have been had they maintained some small level of consistency. I think of the show Stargate Universe, which frankly I think was an overall better show, and in no small part due to the fact they managed to keep a top level of consistency. Every single crew member, down to the faceless extra, to the one-line character, to the one-off episode character, remained consistent throughout the entire 2 years run of the series. And as powerful as I felt the message of this episode was, I didn't quite buy that the Doctor would lose his shit and go insane over a triage situation. I understand he might be questioning himself for choosing his friend over someone he's less familiar with when they both had an equal chance of survival, but I don't quite buy that he would freak out to the point of being non-functional. That scene in the mess hall in particular, where he had his first freak out, felt bit fake to me. I didn't really buy it. Also, convenient one-off alien is convenient and one-off. So my rating for Latent Image out of 10 is an 8, extremely good. Despite its flaws and issues with continuity, it was a very powerful episode that posed some great questions that did, wonder in developing the Doctor's character, Janeway's character, and even Seven of Nine's character. This is where you really got to appreciate Janeway, not just as a captain, but as a person, as she had the strength to admit when she's wrong and to learn to stick up for a friend. However, the flaws in continuity do hold this episode back a little bit from getting a higher rating from me. So that's it for my review of Latent Image. Be sure to check out my channel for many more Star Trek videos, as well as many more videos on shows like Game of Thrones, Humans, The Walking Dead, and more. So be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that. And thanks a lot for watching.